Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Tuesday. You know what that means? That means we have good old buddy Barton. We'll have Graham Hall from 24/7 Sports get his thoughts on Gator football as well. If you missed it last night, 2 Monday night football games, 2 blowout. Well, not one of them was a blowout. One of them was a very good game. Jaden Daniels played phenomenal, playing really well as a rookie. Not surprised at all. And then Josh Allen, the Bills do what they do, and JC's Jaguars are 0-3 and having some serious issues. So that's where we have it. If you're in the Big Bend area and the Panhandle, I'm sure most people are evacuating. And our next guest, Buddy Martin, here on the Titanmore Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, is packing up and heading back to Ocala, right?
There it is right there, Shane. That's the Bay. It's going to get ugly. I'm heading that way. Good morning to you and all our listeners and viewers out there. I hope you'll be safe today. It's going to be dangerous. We don't know what's going to happen. Check your local hurricane center and your weather to get the latest forecast. Everybody's going to get hit, some from west of Panama City around all the way down to Ocala and Gainesville. So be careful out there, folks, when you're driving. Yes, and you know who you're right. Great performance last night in the NFL game. And Jaden Daniels is something special. Do you know who his coach is?
His coach where?
It's at Washington.
I do not.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Well, he's the offensive coordinator, so I guess he does.
Yeah, he coaches him. And guess what are the new names on the list of people Florida is supposedly looking at? Although I can't prove this. Cliff Kingsbury. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I will just say this. Jaden Daniels is a special guy. So, buddy, he would make you look like a good coach.
I would be a good coach. What do you mean?
I'm just saying. Good players make people look like good coaches. I
make him look good too, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah. Ryan's asked here on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Shane, at this point in the season, after 4 games, are there any adjustments that can be made? Or are you just who you are at this point? I mean, maybe there's things that can be done. I personally don't see how you can change anything unless you just change different players and see if they can perform at a higher level. But I think you are what you are. What are your thoughts, buddy?
As you said last night on my show over and over again, we had a good discussion about the problem of the defense. France Beard had some really good stats last night. And by the way, I got some information from him today, which I'll update you on. And you said you can't change the defense now. You can't even change the offense. By the way, Jaden Daniels last night, NFL record with the highest completion percentage in the game ever for a rookie.
Yeah.
4 total touchdowns and incompletions. And, of course, he was amazing in his post-game comments, those people who are Christian followers. But so the bottom line is, as you said last night, Shane, you said that you are what you are. You're not too optimistic. I said to you, Shane, last night, one of my devoted callers and listeners and followers and admirers, reviewers kept saying, Shane keeps saying, there's nothing wrong with the offense, the play calling. And of course, I don't think you think that now necessarily, but that's not the main problem.
No. What people don't, people listen to only what they want to hear.
Sure.
If anybody thinks the offense was a problem last year, clearly does not watch football ever. Okay. There's 3 phases to a football team. And I don't know why I have to keep repeating myself here. I don't know if we need to put it across the ticker. There are 3 phases to a football team.
Yeah.
Last year, the Gators special teams was awful. Gator defense, historically pathetic. Offense was the best part of the team. It was not the problem. Could it have been more explosive and scored more points and more yards and all that nonsense? Absolutely. I think every offense in America could say that. Nobody ever plays a perfect game. Okay. This year, I thought we would be a much better football team because we made coaching changes on defense and we added a bunch of people in the portal. I drank the Kool-Aid, whatever you want to call it, that we would be at least average on defense. And I thought we could win, that would help us win games. I was wrong. But again, I can't tell you if I had $1 for every text, comment, or whatever that people keep talking about we need an offensive coordinator. People, have y'all watched the games? Okay. I'm not saying we are the greatest show on turf on offense, but offense is clearly not your damn problem. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not, maybe I do need new glasses, but maybe I need some really new glasses because I don't know what you people that are keep asking for an offensive coordinator are watching out there.
mhm. Well,
I
I
mean,
think you're fine. You know that, and you know what you're talking about, which we don't. Uh, and that's one of the problems. Let
well,
me
no,
give you.
I mean, I get people think every play is supposed to be successful. It's not. I mean, even as a player or a coach, you know that the plays that you call, not every one of them is going to work. Uh, so anyway, I'm tired of talking about that.
Yeah, well, you're a talk show.
If people do not see that the Florida Gators cannot play defense,
Yeah.
you're living in la la land, people. And I'm not talking about you have to go shut teams out. Just get off the field every now and then. So anyway, that's
Okay.
my rant.
Well, here's some research for you. Okay, just for
Yeah.
you. You got France in a research mood last night. So, in Billy Napier's first season at Florida, Gators averaged 424 yards per game, 29.5 points a game, and 64.5 plays, and 6.58 yards per game carry per play. Opponents averaged 411 yards, 28.8 points, 69.5 plays, and 6.57 yards per play. Year two, the Gators averaged 409 yards, 28.4 points, 59.3 plays, and 605 yards per play. So anyway, he goes on to talk about how things were better and they're gotten worse. And I think that's the key. What I want to see, he says the defensive numbers are atrocious. The last time the Gators had an exceptional defense was 2019 when they finished second in the SEC, allowing 15.5 points, 304 yards, 4.9 play. We had that discussion last night about the offense always being the carry and the superior teams, and you disputed it, saying the defense is great. And we can talk about that another time. But I guess what I'm going to say to you is your old coach taught me something a long time ago. I'm sure you heard it many times, Shane. It's not so important where you are, but what direction you're heading. And I wonder where this whole thing is. That's what bothers me. The direction for their team does not look good.
Well, no. Speaking of that, on tightening our text line, Dave from Macon says, under what conditions does Napier keep his job? My fear he wins 3 or 4 more games this season remains in place. I don't see us winning 3 or 4 more games. Do you want to answer that, buddy? Do you think what is there any way he keeps his job this year?
I'm not going to rule out some good things happening. I mean, Aiden Mizell's was phenomenal, and the play he didn't score on was one of the best plays I've seen in years. I'm like you. Why hasn't he played before now? There's some players out there I like. Jaden Ball, you know how much I love that kid. The quarterback situation is good. How about Austin Barber? He's SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. He scored a touchdown. How many times have you ever heard of an offensive lineman scoring a touchdown? There are some good things, but I'm afraid not enough to spare him. I If I had to put my hard money down right now on how many games, I drank the Kool-Aid too, by the way. I would say if they win 3 more games, they'll be lucky, and that will give them 5 wins. That'll be about where everybody predicted.
I don't know if they can win 3 games.
I said that's not going
Gator guy says defense is the problem. Why would we not go to a bear front against UCF? No chance of beating them with the 4-man front. Have to force them to pass. Our DBs are our strong suit. Missed tackle rate per year under Billy Napier, 2022, 14%, 2023, 15.8%, 2024, 15.6% through 4 games. The Bear front, there's some advantages to running that, but there's also some weaknesses to the Bear front.
Explain the Bear front.
Excuse me?
Explain the Bear front.
The Bear front,
my
people have different ways of explaining it or describing it, but it's very simple. Every offensive lineman is covered with a guy usually head up on. So it's 5-on-5 blocking, right? You got 5 offensive linemen, and then it depends on if a team has a tight end. There's an outside backer or a strong safety covering that guy man to man. You usually have one middle linebacker. So the key is everybody's covered up. In pass situations, everybody's single blocking, which is great if you have a guy who can whip somebody in pass protection. But I've yet to see any of our D linemen do that. And it's a lot of man coverage.
Yep.
But if you do have the right run plays call, which they're going to run their quarterback, and all they got to do is run quarterback power against the Bear front is a wonderful ball play. Wonderful. That's what you're supposed to check to against a Bear front. Power or running the ball outside against the Bear is a really good scheme.
Shane, you need to have a board behind you with.
I know, but we're not going to run the Bear front. So I don't think you could teach the kids how to do that.
Yep.
All right, this is a text in the Titan MR text line from Josh in Mississippi. What's my opinion on the problem on defensive scheme, play calling, the players? I think it's a combination of everything. Like I said, I like our linebackers. I don't know if they're great linebackers, but they play hard. I think Jason Marshall Jr. is an NFL player. Been saying it for 3 years.
Yeah.
I may be proven wrong, but I think he will play on Sundays. This says, I sure hope the Gators don't go 2-10. I went to all the games they went when it was 0-10-1. It's dreadful football.
We got one more win in there. We got one more win somewhere along the way, at least.
Let's hope. Matt from Mariana. QB, doesn't Russ Callaway have experience in the air raid? How hard it would be install some air raid quick passing concepts to help offensive line? You don't really need air raid for the concept. Everybody has the short game series, 3-step timing, shallow crosses, meshes, all that. Supposedly Russ called the game. I've been told by multiple people that he called the Miami game.
Really? Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, he called the Miami game. So anyway.
What do you think of the shift to the press box for some of the defensive coaches?
Well, both of our coordinators supposedly are in the box, which
I don't quite understand. On the field, moved upstairs this past game.
I believe Austin Armstrong and Ron Roberts are both in the booth.
Yeah, but Roberts was on the field.
Yeah. I think one of them needs to be on the field.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll make a difference, though. Christopher says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum, Big Dez, the biggest guy in college football, getting pushed around on the D-line, all you need to know. Look, everybody piles on Dez. Dez does not need to be playing football, especially at this level. I don't care if you're 8,000 pounds. Offensive linemen will move you. They will move you. Doesn't matter how big you are, because the other teams are strong as well.
Think he should be in, not be out there?
I've been saying it for 2 years now. Shouldn't play it down. He's a liability. Huge liability. Can't move, buddy.
No, he can't move, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I seriously, this is not joking. I would put, I mean, you don't want to put your long snapper because Rocco Underwood, he'll go down there and hit you. He'll make somebody miss. I would put I mean, we don't have backup fullbacks, but I'd put a fullback in there to play deep tackle before I put him in there. Because you can move and slant and try to penetrate. He can't penetrate at all. So, all right. So, real quick, I have a question for you here, buddy, after I get to this. Right. This is from Frank on the Titan MR text. I've heard some criticism of Jordan Castell's performance at safety. What is your opinion of play? He's not played well. I don't think any safety has played well.
Who is that?
Jordan Castell.
Oh, yeah.
We've had serious problems at the safety position this year. I thought it'd be better.
I did too. I thought that'd be the most improved part of the secondary.
Here's what I see from the safeties is I talk about this all the time. You know, people can blame it on coaching, blame it on the scheme. Some people have instincts to be good football players. You know, I talk about it all the time, having an instinct of how to play quarterback. You
Yeah.
can't coach it. You either
Right.
have it or you don't. Some people don't have the instincts of how to break on routes, how to break on the football. And I don't think we have those instincts in the secondary at the safety position. That's just my opinion.
I agree with
Everybody
you.
has their
I
own.
think one of the problems is they don't make plays in the defense is they don't have good instincts in the secondary. You
Well,
know,
I think the corner, like I said, Jason Marshall Jr. has played phenomenal this year. Now, a lot of people don't throw his way because he's our best defender. I thought Devin Moore on the touchdown he gave up, he had tremendous coverage. It was just a better throw and catch in the corner of the end zone. Tip your hat. If the Gators throw that, what do we say? That was a great throw and catch, right? If the Gators do that, well, tip your hat to Mississippi State. It was a great throw and catch on their part.
yeah.
Um, Brady wants to know on YouTube, brought to you by Quad, how many more losses until they fire Billy? Do you think they will wait until the end of the year, no
I
matter
think
what?
Billy's fired already. They're waiting to try to figure out what to do with him.
Yeah, it's I don't think he will be here next year. That's just my
He's not going to be here.
gut feeling. Silverback Concrete
There's
builds
too many money people who won't put up with it.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. We got Buddy Martin here on the Titanmore Hotline. We'll have Graham Hall, second portion of today's program. Talk a little bit about Gator football going through the bye week.
How about some baseball? Brandon Sproat,
What's he doing now?
pitcher of the year.
What, Triple A?
Yeah, minor league baseball, pitcher of the year. Yeah, yeah. And he's. I haven't heard much about him, but boy, what arm sell he's had down there. To have the organization as player of the year by Baseball America, minor league pitcher of the year. Nice going, Brandon Sproat.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.40 ERA with 130 Ks and 116 innings, and pushing his way to AAA. Actually, he was in minor league, AA,
Oh, okay. Double A ball.
but still the minor league player of the year, pitcher of the year.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let me get to some of these Facebook Lives here. I had a couple I wanted to read if I can pull them up. Andrew says, "Why not spend the 26 million on players?" Well, I think
Doesn't work that way.
they will get there eventually spending that.
Their
Cedric
paydays
asks,
are going to be so huge. Their paydays are so huge. That's why they have this drunken spending. They all have hundreds of millions of dollars coming in years to come. Now, don't forget, Florida has to also retool the stadium. You know, which is
that stadium, they need to
I
take
know it's
whatever.
different. I get
That
it.
stadium needs to like be put on the waste, put over
I
here,
agree.
and don't give a damn about
I
it.
agree. I agree. But I'm just telling you that's on the drawing board.
Yeah, I would take that and flush those drawings down the toilet right now because I honestly
Not a
don't
priority.
know. I've not heard one person. Look, I understand you want to have more luxury seating and all that or chair backs. I don't think people give a damn if they take the seats out and you have to bring your own little cushion right now if we can win football games.
The money move. They're not going to do anything to make more money. They're going to make a lot more money on it because there's going to be more luxury boxes. That's really what it is.
Yeah, but we don't need it. We don't need it.
I agree. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. But I think that's what they need to do. Take all the seating out and bring your own seats. That would be my solution.
Cut off the concessions and bring your brown bag to lunch and bring your own.
Bring your own cooler. Let's have a good all right. So Greg, people keep asking about this, buddy. I want you to address it. Says, did Buddy report the HBC and Urban will be analysts for Florida?
No. Here's what happened. I give Brand Spirit credit for this. Everybody wanted to know why, if we have all these great coaches and players, they aren't ever asked to take part. And why, if the coach was fired and the committee said we're not going to let the AD hire the coach, they're going to get the board of trustees and a group of people together to go find somebody. And then you got to have a general manager now to oversee the program from now through the time they can hire the coach. The discussion was about who that would be. The topic of the two greatest coaches in Florida history and two of the greatest anywhere in college football who coached at Florida and won 3 national championships. Why wouldn't you at least go consult with them and say, hey, what do you think, Coach Spurrier? Hey, what do you think, Coach Meyer? And people said, well, how would they respond? Franz was able to uncover through some sources that they would, in fact, be willing to serve and help out in some kind of advisory capacity or consultancy. Steve already is, but neither one of them wanted to be guilty of stabbing Billy in the back. They also want to know they're not interested in a full-time gig. But why wouldn't you have them as part of the brain trust, Shane? You got all this knowledge and wisdom and experience. I know times have changed. I know this is not 1996, but wouldn't you know Coach Spurrier, you know Urban, wouldn't that be an asset? And that's what was reported.
Well, are you referring to them when Billy is gone
Yes, when Billy's gone.
and we don't have a head coach?
That's correct.
Or you're saying they would help the new head coach?
I think they could do either or both, but primarily in the transition of the new coach.
I just don't know. I just don't know what they could do is my thing. Is like, okay, I would be interested in asking Coach. I know how Coach operates. I don't know Urban how he operates. They're night and day, bro. The way they operate, it's not even close. But let's just say the Gators part ways with Billy in 2 weeks. Okay, they're gonna have to make somebody the interim on the staff.
No, they don't have to.
Okay, well, somebody's got to have to do the interviews and talk to the media and stuff. So somebody has to be the head coach.
Yeah. Who would that be, Shane?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. But it's not going to be Urban or not. It's not going to be Coach Spurrier. And my thing is
I agree.
Yeah, Coach could draw up plays, and I've said this a million times. He could draw up plays for the interim offensive coordinator or whoever's calling plays.
Right.
Because they already have those plays. It's not like he has a secret compartment hidden with ball plays. Nobody in America has a play that somebody else does not have.
Right.
It's how you coach it and when do you call it.
Yep.
That's the key.
Agree, and this is not what I'm talking about. It's after the firing of Billy in transitioning to the next coach, trying to be sure you're getting the right person and lending support to that person early on whatever they need to know. If Cliff Kingsbury was here, I'm just pulling a name out of the air. He'd have to. Now, Lane Kiffin, maybe not so much, but in my heart of hearts, as much as I wish it were true, I don't see Lane Kiffin as the Florida coach in the future. Too many options.
We'll see. But I don't see any.
We'll see. You think you don't agree with that? You think
I don't. I think he's very much in play.
Really?
Yes.
You think they're going to get him?
I think they have a very good chance.
Do you really?
I do. Why wouldn't they?
Well, you changed a little bit on me there because I thought you said earlier that they Ole Miss might not let him go.
Well, I mean, he will be the highest paid coach in America after this season.
$15 million?
Probably, be my guess.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm saying is I've been around coaching my whole life because my dad was a coach, and I just don't see the new coach, whoever it is. I don't care if it's Nick Saban or if it's whoever it is. Yeah, they're gonna, if Urban and Coach are on the staff, Coach is gonna be just like he did. Say, if you need anything, let me know.
You're not understanding this. I never said that, and we never said that, and that was never the plan. But if you have to go to a lame duck state, let's just say they say to Billy, well, we'll give you 18 million to coach the team before you buy a coach team the rest of the year, and we'll have a general manager take over the program to protect the players and try to keep the team together. In that transitional period, while Billy is not in charge and they have a brain trust of people from the board of trustees, you need a group of people to help advise you to make good decisions. It won't be the coaching staff, won't be Scott Strickland. That's where people like Urban and Steve would be able to help.
So you're saying they're going to help hire the new coach is what you're saying. I'm
not saying they do either. I'm just saying they'd be willing to help. But I would see that not necessarily in What do you mean help? Yeah, recommending. Yeah. If it's Jeff Brahma's the guy, we know Coach Spurrier loves him.
I do
Whatever.
too.
The point being that helping them make a better decision, because Shane, they've made nothing but bad decisions now since Urban coached here. I do think Dan Mullen could have been it. I don't know what happened. There's some deep, dark secret there that I've never been able to figure out because I like the choice. He started out great and he totally disappeared on Shane. Do you have any idea what happened to Dan Mullen? I don't.
No, I have no idea. No idea.
That's all. That was what I'm referring to. What the story was about. That it was a kind of a call to arms of all Gators, and if we needed help, would you help? And in terms of you're just advising them, is it better fit for this coach to give your opinion to a group of board of trustees and money people who don't know about this kind of thing? They made bad choices in the past. That's all.
Lanny says, I'm not spending a penny as long as, well, it went away. Dadgummit, I'll have to read it here in a second.
As long as Billy Napier is the coach.
Yeah, that's why I think people will be willing, depending on who the new coach is. Lenny says, Dan Bond, I'm not spending any money as long as Billy's the head coach. You don't keep going to a crappy restaurant until they get a new chef.
Okay, that's fair.
Joseph says, but he just wants them here. He doesn't know what he thinks they should do. They should just be here. That's all I got out of that.
Okay, get out of it what you want to. It wasn't me. The story was written. And obviously, some people, a lot of Gators, have asked me and then probably asked you, why don't we call on the people who did it the best to at least give us their best advice? Not
But I agree with that. But I mean, again, they can make recommendations to the people in charge, the board of trustees and all that stuff. But I will tell you exactly how coach feels like if I'm sitting in a coach's office talking X's and O's and somebody comes in and tries to give that coach recommendations and things, it's just going in one ear out the other.
I get it. It's apples and oranges. I get it. But it's Shane, if you're in your office and four people come to your office and say they're the board of trustees, say we're kind of pick the brains of the people who know football who were Gators. We'd like to know your thoughts about these candidates, and is there somebody else we should look at? You sit there and tell them, right? You tell them,
Right. I think we're talking two different things. I think people are thinking that you're saying they're going to come help with the football team.
no, I
They're
never
not.
said
They're
that.
going to help with decision making for the football program.
No. Well, I mean, you could, they were qualified, but
Well, they're very qualified, but again, it's just like Urban can walk out on that practice field today and put his input in there, but he cannot change what is there in a freaking 3 or 4 days.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that. That's people are reading the wrong stuff into it. It's like you got this family. Would you think Archie Manning would be a good guy to talk about Ole Miss football? Of course.
Yeah. Well, he hired Hugh Freeze and then had to fire Hugh Freeze.
Right. Exactly.
He was part of that.
By the way, he may get fired at Auburn. By the way, he's coaching right now.
So through 17 games, Brian Harsin was 9-8. Hugh Freeze is 8-9.
It's ugly, and he seems like he's losing it, Shane.
Well, he's blaming his quarterbacks when his quarterbacks are not very good, but he's responsible for putting those quarterbacks out on the field because he didn't go recruiting any or signing any.
Right.
Mark says hiring coaches is a crapshoot, like drafting QBs in the National Football League. Muschamp and Mullen were good hires, but didn't work out like Jimbo Fisher. Yeah, there's only a handful of coaches that actually work out across the country. There's a lot of good coaches, but here's the thing. I can give you a list of coaches and here's exactly what Gator fans say. What has he won? He's never won anything. Yeah. Well, there's only a handful of coaches that win everything.
Right.
So anyway, all right, buddy. Who you got on your program tonight?
I don't. I'm out of here.
That's right. You're hunkering down in Ocala.
Kevin Brockway's going to be on with Lauren Meadows tonight. And Rob Brown will be on tonight with him. And we'll see who else shows up with the hurricane being what it is. David Whitley hopefully will be able to be on tonight. So I'm traveling down the highway. I'm booking it out of here and going east on I-10 as soon as my wife is back. So we'll see you when we see you. Hopefully not too long. And everybody, please, if you haven't been fun, don't be like Shane. Don't sit there and say, "Oh, I'm going to stand by this or that." Watch the news. Even
No,
Shane.
I get it, but when you're in the middle of the state, I mean, you're going to get bad weather, but I mean, where am I going to go, buddy?
No,
I've
and
never
here's the
left.
difference so you don't know. If you've ever lived southwest, like I have, all the way down in Charlotte County, or lived out in northwest, which I'm doing right now, it's a problem on the highways. 2 days before the storm hits, you can't move. I've been
Yeah,
caught in traffic jams that moved a mile every hour, and you're stuck. Don't get stuck out there. So if you're going to go now. That's what I'm trying to do now is follow my own
yeah.
advice. So be safe out there, Shane, and I'll talk to you when I get there. Hopefully, have a good show, and I'm sure Graham will have a lot of good stuff to say.
All right, buddy. Be safe, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks.
Text here on the Titan Mark text line. This is Zach and Jack says, Shane, what is your go-to golf course in the Gainesville? There's only one that's worth playing, and it's phenomenal. It'll be the best greens you've played ever, probably, and that's the University of Florida Bostic Golf Course. Best greens you'll find, but that's the only golf course in town worth playing. This day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life. Campus USA Credit Union. Speaking of golf, 2017 Tour Championship at East Lake. Xander Schauffele wins the final event of the year over Justin Thomas. That's this day in sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll be joined by 24/7 Sports Graham Hall talking about Gator football. You're watching, listening, PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Gridiron sponsors, CertaPro Painters, Comfort Temp, UF Bookstores, Quality Plumbing, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogra State Farm, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, F45. Our touchdown sponsors, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Aikido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, MG&A Wealth, Nest and Wild, Palm Beach Autographs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Sonic Drive-In, Florida Victorious, Coca-Cola, Core Power, Electronics World.
If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Discover the ultimate Cuban culinary experience at Miapa Latin Cafe. With 5 locations in Gainesville and Alachua, you're never far from the best Cuban food north of Miami. We're going to head to the Titan number hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp, and it's the one and the only from 24/7 Sports, Graham Hall. What's up, Graham?
How you doing, man? Good to be back from Starkville, which first time going there. I didn't go in 2018, and no offense to the good people of Starkville, that is not an ideal SEC town. I'll say that.
See, I love it. I love the small towns. I know you people that aren't from Mississippi, I like Oxford. I like Starkville. I like the small towns. Real quick, back to the golf related questions. Asa says, QB, I got to play Bostic with the Florida Gator Golf Booster Alumni Tournament. You must have been Gator Golf Day. I was there, Asa. It was miserable. The rain. He said the greens were incredible. Yeah, they are. You won't find better greens. I'm telling you, people. And then Joey Freshwater has tuned in. He listens to the program now from Oxford. Says Gainesville Country Club was wanted to auction, supposed to be restored to its former. It ain't happening, Joey. Trust me. If anybody knows about the golf courses in town, it's me. I don't know if I'll be alive when they restore that place. So there. All right, Graham. Gators get a big win in Stark Vegas. But boy, we continue to be really bad on defense.
Yeah, it's pretty disconcerting, I think, that, if they play that efficient against every other team the rest of the way, and I don't think they will, to be 100% clear, they're going to give themselves a chance. Anytime you go out and complete 26 to 28 passes, even if it's between two QBs, you're going to give yourself a chance in a lot of games. But defensively, Florida's issues are numerous. They struggle with tempo. Communication in between plays is not great. The secondary, you still have coverage lapses. Missed tackles that is probably the most frustrating thing for me, honestly. That's if I was a head coach, and obviously I'm not one. So, maybe I'm a little inexperienced coming here, but that's the type of stuff that would make me want to play someone else, someone a little bit more eager for an opportunity, a young gun who's going to come in and be willing to actually, lay someone out and make a tackle, wrap up. I mean, there were several plays where Florida had 4 or 5 missed tackles. And I think they had 20, I think they had 22 missed tackles according to Pro Football Focus. That is just abysmal right there. And this is not a really good Mississippi State team. Kayvon Lee, was committed to Florida back in 2019. He had a really good performance. Maybe he was a little motivated to get some vengeance against the Gators, his first time to play them since he was committed back to former head coach Dan Mullen. Blake Shapen, I feel for the guy now out for the year with a shoulder injury. Maybe he has a chance to medically redshirt and return next year for them. I thought that he did everything he could considering the pieces around him there. And I do think Jeff Lebby will be a good head coach in time. Absolutely. I think that he comes from a strong background and he's going to be able to have some success if he can get those pieces there that he needs. And fortunately for Florida, the only other worst defense in the SEC is probably that one up there in Mississippi State. So it certainly was a big win for Florida in terms of them needing it, but there are a lot of issues that remain that this team is going to need to clean up in the next 2 weeks before they play UCF.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Jeff Lebby will get it turned around. He will fire his entire defensive staff, is my opinion, when it's over with this year. You're talking about an unsound defense. It was very unsound. Never seen it at the collegiate level. Andy's got a good question here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. It says, Graham, and I don't know if you know this or not, what percentage of NIL money do you think we allocate to defense? We need more.
That's a good question. I don't know the exact number. I would imagine that they've used less money in NIL allocation in terms of retaining players on this defense than a lot of other teams in the SEC use. You lose Princely, you lose guys like Jaden Hill. I imagine that, Jason Marshall Jr. got some money from NIL to come back. Devin Moore was someone they needed to come back as well. And then certainly they went out and added those 3 veteran safeties, and that's going to command some NIL money right there. But I would imagine it's a good bit less than offense, especially, you got DJ Lagway on the other side of the ball. You had to make sure you retained Eugene Wilson, Montrell Johnson. You need him to come back, given what you have at running back around him. And then you bring in 2 veterans at wideout and Shamir Adike and Elijah Badger. I mean, right there, that makes me think that, and then we know that the offensive linemen that they got in the portal are going to command, 6 figures as well. So that right there makes me think that offensively they spent more money than defense, and that needs to, I think, change moving forward. Otherwise, Florida's not going to be able to correct the defensive issues that they have.
Agreed. All right, here's a good question from Joseph on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon. Does Graham have any recruiting info for us? What is the pulse on Florida recruiting with the turmoil around the program?
Well, this is going to be a pretty small class. I mean, I think that you look at the guys on defense that they were in the mix for have committed elsewhere. Guys like Ty Jackson, you know, they end up going to other programs. There are a lot of other programs that were in the mix there: Miami, Florida State, USC, Georgia, Alabama, that are simply in better places right now than the Gators are. I do think that the biggest key is retaining that, the wide receivers that you've added, at the recruiting level: Vernell Brown, Nashawn Montgomery, Josh Moore. I mean, those guys are going to hear from other programs the rest of the way. Vernell Brown, especially, Ohio State's not going to give up on him. The most promising thing that you can do to retain those guys is to keep showing that you have a very promising young quarterback in DJ Lagway. You can create downfield explosive plays. And I think most importantly, give the freshmen and sophomores an opportunity to contribute early, getting guys out there like Aiden Mizell, Eugene Wilson last year. Andy Jean, got a few snaps, but still is not getting the opportunities that he really desires. Using those young guys and having an explosive quarterback is going to help you there. But anyone thinking that Florida, maybe this is just the harsh reality for a lot of people, that they're going to make this push for a top 10, even a top 15 class, I got to let you know that it's not a very good chance that happens. A lot would have to change. Florida would have to go on a run here down the stretch and win a lot of these games, especially in November, that many people don't project them to win. And they would have to look impressive doing so. You'd have to be all but guaranteed to have Billy Napier returning for a fourth season in Gainesville. I know this is hard for a lot of people to believe, but recruits like Billy Napier, I mean, he comes across really well. He impresses their families, but they read the news. They see the turmoil around him, the speculation. And for young guys, they're not going to buy in at this point to a coach that couldn't be gone within less than a month, potentially, knowing that they have a lot of other Power 4 options out there. So a lot of the top guys are waiting to see still how Florida does, and it hasn't really looked promising the last month. And everything we just have talked about, the issues on defense, what they need to fix on the offensive line too, to make up that ground, you're not going to do it at the high school level. You need to save spots for the transfer portal. You need to sign maybe 15 guys and then use 20 spots overhauling your roster to bring in veterans from other places. That's what Florida has to do. And the transfer portal, how they do in December and into January, is going to be a lot more key for this team for 2025 than how they do in the recruiting trail right now.
Yeah, text on the Titan Tomorrow text line from Chris in Mayaka says, does Billy have complete control and oversight over the football program? Is this disaster his fault, or is it the UAA's fault we are so far behind?
Well, I think that it's a complex question. I do think that certainly there are some things in the UAA that you can question and wonder whether you still have the right people in charge. I mean, the old heads, I like to say, are still in charge there. They've been in charge for the last 10 years, going back, 3 decades now for a lot of them. Jeremy Foley does still have some influence, not saying that he's necessarily the problem right there, but you do have, I think, a lot of people questioning the UAA setup right now and whether they're equipped and whether they were initially equipped when NIL became a thing to handle this. The head coach has changed several times, but the people in the front offices at the UAA remain. But this is Billy Napier's team. Let's be quite honest. I mean, you look at the decisions that he made from a roster standpoint, especially in the first year. He gave a lot of guys a clean slate, a fresh start, when maybe he should have shed more dead weight from the roster. He brought in, all those assistants, a lot of them from Louisiana: Rob Sale, Patrick Toney, William Piegler, guys that he was confident in that didn't work out. He thought Corey Raymond would work out. It necessarily did not. There were other things involved there as well, and he put a lot of faith in Austin Armstrong. He got $1 million to come in and be a defensive coordinator, a huge promotion for him. And then in less than a year, you bring someone in, Ron Roberts, who now becomes your defensive play caller. I mean, this is his coaching staff set up. He helped build this roster. So when it comes to the field, the product they put on the field, it does fall on Billy Napier's shoulders. And I think you have to, if you give him the credit when it goes right and give him the blame when it goes wrong. And I will say this about Billy Napier: he does take more accountability for where Florida is right now than previous head coaches. If you watch the press conferences, and I know a lot of people get frustrated when they watch them and they see a guy who maybe lacks fire, but what I see a lot of the time is someone who He's a little solemn and level-headed, and he comes up there and says, "We are who we are. This is on me. I got to get it fixed." He's not someone who's going to go out there and necessarily blame the players at a high rate and say, "Well, we put the right play call in, they didn't execute." He knows that this is, he's the one being paid the big bucks. He's going to get responsibility for this program, and that is the reality, that the product on the field, the majority of the blame and the credit at times goes to Billy Napier and his coaching staff, the one he constructed in Gainesville. So the UAA, there are parts that they're going to be scapegoated, and there's an aspect there where maybe some change is needed moving forward.
Graham, we've had a bunch of people ask questions about the defense, about the freshmen who have played. I think LJ McCray plays a little bit in the rotation of the D lineman. I don't know why they just say, hell, you're one of the highly acclaimed freshmen. We're going to play you. I know Miles Graham played a lot at linebacker late in the game the other day. I guess what they want to know, are there any other true freshmen? I know, is it, what's the kid that's hurt? Number 8, Aaron Gates. Is that right?
Yep, Aaron Gates.
Aaron Childs? I get them confused.
Yeah, Aaron Childs is healthy right now.
Yeah.
He made a good play in that game there, but he's certainly someone. Linebacker is probably the deepest position on this defense, I think you could say, with Shamar James. Shamar didn't have an amazing game on Saturday, but Grayson Howard is clearly the best transfer prospect that Florida added to the roster. Miles Graham looks good. RJ Moten has even impressed me, when he's been in the game here. Clearly was out of position his first couple years in college. So Aaron Childs is someone that, when I talked about retaining players, you absolutely want him coming back to your roster. But other freshmen that you could see on the field here for Florida, that's probably going to be pretty difficult. You signed a bunch of offensive linemen, and I don't know if they're well equipped, even with the struggles that Florida has, to come in and be able to contribute. I thought Bryce Lovett had a good game. That's a second-year guy who really is as old as a freshman, but he's now in his second year at the program. You look at some of the wide receivers, certainly that's a very deep room. Tank Hawkins has been battling through injury a little bit. TJ Abrams as well. Amir Jackson still needs to add some to his frame and get a little more physical. He's more kind of like a H-back type tight end in a sense right now, a little bit of a tweener here. So I do think that if you're expecting some freshmen to come in and elevate the product on the field, I don't see it happening, unfortunately, for Florida outside of those skill position guys I mentioned.
Yeah. I guess they just want to, the way I look at it is, if the other guys, the older guys, are not getting it done, try somebody else. What's it going to do? Can it get any worse? I don't think it can get any worse on that side of the ball. So we'll see if they, people were talking about change the scheme and all that during the bye week. I don't think you can do that. Maybe they try it. Have you heard anything along those lines, Graham?
I don't know if you're going to change the scheme. Now, you may be able to simplify the playbook a little bit and make it a little bit easier for these guys. The amount of cover 1, cover 3 that we've seen, they're clearly still coverage lapses. What can you do about those? The whole creeper defense that was pushed coming in here, is that something that when you're using first-year players in a system and freshmen coming in and even sophomores, are they able to run that defense right now? Do you need to simplify it a little bit? I do think that they have a little bit more of a simple scheme that they could run, but I don't see them changing anything or making drastic changes. But simplifying things a little bit and just asking someone to go out and make a play is something that Florida could do. But to be quite honest, when you have as many missed tackles as Florida does, it doesn't really matter what the scheme is in my mind. If guys aren't going out there and wrapping up, even when they're in position, what are you going to do, right? You can't teach tackling at this point necessarily, because this is going to be a bye week where guys are resting up. You need to just have someone who's going to go out there and execute regardless of what the play call is. And that's not to put the blame on the players, because obviously you need to have the ideal play call. But Florida's problems extend past the scheme right now, which is why I don't think that they're going to try and change anything or really, alter too much. They could simplify it, but change is probably that ship is probably sailed.
Okay, we're going to end with this question here. Ross on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, says, hypothetically, if Kiffin were to come, would it not be during a period when the portal was already closed, thus putting him in a spot not being able to bring players in and also losing whatever good players he has on this roster? Let me go first, then you answer because you know all the dates and all that. Everybody's assuming Ole Miss is going to be in the playoffs. I mean, and Kiffin may not even be the guy, but let's just say that's who they're targeting. If they are in the playoffs, you don't know when they're going to lose. They could make a deep run. He has a very good team. I don't think at this point you cannot worry about recruiting in the portal, in my opinion. You got to go find the coach you want and get him. I mean, whether that's, Lane Kiffin, whether it's Lincoln Riley, whether it's Josh Heupel, whoever that could make a deep run. Once that portal closes, which I think it closes before the national championship game is played, is that correct, Graham?
Yep.
When's the next portal open up, or is there one, or do they not do the spring one anymore?
Well, I think they're still going to do the spring portal, even though it's been discussed of eliminating that. I do think that maybe the biggest key here is that you bank on, guys who stay in the portal, who've already entered the portal and are still looking for a home, even through February. That's something that we've seen time and time again. Go back to Jaden Daniels joining LSU a week before spring camp, and then there's the whole aspect of coaching changes. Maybe another team fires their coach, or a guy gets hired by the NFL, which happens every single February. And then those players on the roster have 30 days to enter the portal. So you could see an influx of talent from top rosters that happens in February. But absolutely, you're spot on. The whole concept of this timeline with Lane Kiffin, I think, is the biggest question for me, because you want to be able to give your roster a good chance to turn over and have success. If you have an interim head coach leading that process, you can tell recruits all you want, hey, we're getting so and so and so. But if they're not meeting with him, if they're not hearing from them at the facility, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. And are you going to enter the transfer portal with a head coach that you may part ways with? If it's Billy Napier, who lasts through December here, and then they wait to make a move, I don't see that happening either. It's all about a timeline. And that's why so often you see programs take a risk on someone from the group of 5 level, is because they can get them to come to a Power 4 program potentially before the transfer portal closes, right as the season ends. Those teams that have a shot to make the college football playoff, I do think that with the expansion, you're going to see one of the benefits of those teams have is that they're at less of a risk to get their coach poached by another program. That is one of the, I think, incentives for making a roster, is that you're going to have some more making the playoffs. You're going to have some more stability with your roster, with your program, unless you can get them to agree under the table to some type of deal ahead of time. That's going to be very difficult. Now, obviously, money talks, and there are going to be some coaches who listen, absolutely. And we know that agents are always working behind closed doors to make some of this stuff happen so that the coaches themselves can focus on their current team. But the timeline here is absolutely consequential to the decision. Last thing I will say on this, if you get a coach from a roster who comes over late, you could have the portal will open, say Florida hires Lane Kiffin at the end of January. Well, then the portal opens for everyone on Ole Miss's roster, right? That portal is open for 30 days. So say Lane Kiffin wants to bring 35 plus players from Oxford to Gainesville. He's then able to do just that no matter what time of the year it is, if they take him away from Ole Miss. So that is certainly something that I think you're going to see more and more of when it comes to late, in January coaching changes, that the coach brings a lot of the former players from their roster with him, because that's the top talent that is out there, and it's players he's familiar with at a very late timeline.
Yeah, my thoughts are, regardless of who the coach is, I think it's going to be a big name coach personally. I don't care when they're coaching. I don't care how long they're coaching. You got to get the right coach. The players will come if it's the right coach. I don't care if it's next week or if it's in March. The players will come. So anyway, Graham, good stuff as always, my friend. Any specials, anything going on right now?
I think we just finished up doing 50% off over at Swamp 247. If we haven't, take advantage of that for sure. We're always running a 30% off promo. And we got a lot of basketball coverage coming starting this week as well. This is the week that Florida opens basketball practice. We're going to be talking to Todd Golden a little later today and a couple of players. So if you're interested in basketball coverage, looking for some positive news at this time of the year, go to Swamp 247. We'll have a ton of basketball coverage. Jacob Runner does a great job covering all things basketball recruiting as well. So take advantage of that. Looking forward to being back, though, and talking Florida football real soon with you, Shane. Always my pleasure.
Thank you, Graham. One of the best in the business, young Graham Hall right there on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Appreciate everybody chiming in. And we'll be here tomorrow, folks. Have a great day. Hunker down. Get all your supplies. Take care. See you tomorrow.